This video is going to contain spoilers. Number one, Kong Skull Island. Kong Skull Island is a terrific King Kong movie. It's also a terrific creatures feature movie. Most of it is set on Skull Island. Kong is a good guy, and it has a straightforward plot, which is a group of persons go on an expedition for the purpose to find a missing pilot and then return him to the USA, along with William wanting to prove that Kong and other giant animals are real, because he's responsible for Monarch, which is a government organization wanting to prove the existence of Kong and other giant animals. You can do that if you can get visual evidence of Kong and the other giant animals using cameras or a camera. And it has a cast of likable characters, including a badass tracker hunter that is James Conrad. Also, as Kong is in multiple scenes. This is in the same universe as the 2014 Godzilla movie, and Kong is in multiple scenes in his own movie, so it doesn't repeat the mistake. It doesn't repeat that mistake of what the 2014, one of the main flaws of the 2014 Godzilla movie. And it also has other creatures in this movie. There is a giant stick in one scene. There is a giant spider. Another one scene, there is a giant stick monster. Also, in two scenes, there is a water buffalo and Kong fighting a giant octopus. And there's also the giant lizards. They're not fully grown, but they're the same species as Godzilla, and they could easily kill humans. And there's also in this movie is Preston Packard, a Army Lieutenant Colonel, played by Samuel L. Jackson. He becomes a villain, but he's more misguided than evil for his motive. He's been informed. They find out that Kong, when he was destroying those helicopters, that he was just defending his territory. And even with knowing that, he still has the eye for the eye mentality, that in response to the soldiers being killed, that he's going to kill Kong. And also with even being informed that if he was going to kill Kong, then there'd be no giant animal left to defend the humans from those giant lizards, along with a huge lizard going up to the surface or land, which no doubt he's talking about. No doubt he's talking about Godzilla. No doubt the character is talking about Godzilla, and there's foreshadowing for a sequel, because at the end of the credits, shown on the cave is a drawing. In the cave is a drawing of Kong fighting Godzilla. So foreshadowing for the sequel, which no doubt is going to be Kong fighting Godzilla. Which no doubt that's going to be the sequel for Kong Skull Island 2, which is in the scene that is after credits. Number two, a terrific Spider-Man Homecoming is the best Spider-Man movie, and it's a terrific movie. It is on the mark for Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is an underdog, which is exactly what Spider-Man is in the comic books. They got this shown in the movie because Iron Man believes that he's out of his league, that Spider-Man can't defeat the Vulture in the Syndicate, he just outright says that, which is exactly why he wants him. Tells him he should be fighting, work his way up, but until he can work his way up to the big leagues, he should just be fighting ordinary foes. And also, Peter Parker can't have an ordinary life because the Vulture and his Syndicate continue to create problems. And also, all similar to Harry Potter, Peter, Liz Allen, his best friend Flash Thompson, etc. All the teenagers that are in high school, they're all believable that they're teenagers in high school because of how they look, how they act, and how they talk. So it's deja vu of Harry Potter, which is terrific, because in the Sam Raimi movies, in those movies, they were not with how they looked, they were not believable that they were teenagers in high school because they were too old. They would be believable as college students, but they wouldn't be believable as teenagers in high school because they're too old to be, obviously, because they don't look like they're too old. Also, they're too old, and also there's also the Vulture. It's shown why exactly it's shown why exactly Adrian Toomes becomes the Vulture, and he's the classic kind of villain. He's doing the wrong thing for the right reasons, which is to provide for his family, and you can understand why exactly him and his crew that become a syndicate, why they become why they become villains or supervillains, and so the Vulture is he's a understandable supervillain or understandable villain, but he's still unsympathetic, which is terrific because most other Spider-Man movies don't have a supervillain that is understandable but also unsympathetic, and also Vulture is ruthless to accomplish his goals. It is terrific or excellent and astounding how exactly Spider-Man's able to defeat the Vulture when the Vulture pretty much has all the advantages, including the fact that he has his technology suit while Spider-Man doesn't have his technology suit because Iron Man took it away from Spider-Man, which Iron Man was responsible for creating, and Spider-Man is able to defeat the Vulture. There is also there is a foreshadowing for the sequel. There's foreshadowing for the sequel. There's foreshadowing for the sequel because Matt Gargan, a member of the Vulture Syndicate, shown on his neck is a tattoo of the Scorpion, and so no doubt he's going to become the Scorpion in the sequel. And Matt Gargan is the real name of the supervillain Scorpion, an enemy of Spider-Man, and also highly possible the Sinister Six might happen, maybe in the sequel, if not, maybe the third movie. And there's also a homage. There's a homage to Amazing Spider-Man where he has steel pipes or sewer pipes on him, and he has to use all of his physical strength to stand up and get the pipes off of him. And in a very similar scene, there's a building or warehouse that is wrecked or ruined by the Vulture, mainly his wings, and Spider-Man is screaming for someone to help, but no one is able to help him because no one's in the area, and the Vulture isn't going to help him. So Spider-Man, using his physical strength, is able to stand up to get the debris. Is able to get the debris off of him by standing up and lifting the debris. And obviously it was changed because that's not sewer pipes, but it's still an extremely similar. It's still supposed to be an homage to a scene from The Amazing Spider-Man. Then there's the Dark Tower, which is a terrific supernatural. Number 3, the Dark Tower, a supernatural action horror fantasy movie. Roland there is the pure evil. There is the terrific, magnificent bastard, the pure evil villain, a sorcerer. Walter, the Man in Black, and which starts off, and then there's also wants to use Jake to make the Dark Tower collapse, which as a result, after the Dark Tower falls, then a bunch of demons will be released and destroy all of humans on Earth. And Roland, the gunslinger, he starts off as a pessimist anti-hero that just accepts that the Dark Tower is going to fall, but before that happens, he's going to have his vengeance, and he's going to kill Walter, who did kill his dad. And he does have a character arc or character development because Jake is able to convince him that inform him that he's not a gunslinger, he's not really a gunslinger, and also that just because Roland's world got destroyed doesn't mean his world, which is Jake's world also has to get destroyed. So he adds to his objectives or his tasks or goals that he doesn't want to just kill Walter also, but also wants to destroy the machines so that save the Earth, so that the Dark Tower won't be destroyed, releasing the demons on Earth, prevent the main goal of the main villain, which is Walter. Also, there is references to Stephen King's other books, including with Christine, It, etc. in this movie, and there's foreshadowing in this movie because shown on the wall in a house is the Crimson King, which is the big bad. He's basically Satan in the Dark Tower universe. So no doubt, most likely, the Crimson King is going to be the main villain in the second movie, the third movie, and possibly a fourth movie. But no doubt, most likely, maybe the second movie. And also, so that's great foreshadowing, along with Roland, and because there's a terrific climax with Walter fighting Roland, who is able to kill him. You'll have to watch the movie to find out how exactly, and Jake proves useful because he's able to use his powers to prevent the portal from opening so that the demons can't escape and destroy humanity. So it's terrific. He does have to be saved there is a scene where there are other scenes where he has to be saved by, if I recall right, by Roland the Gunslinger, but he isn't just a damsel in most of this movie. He proves useful. He isn't just a damsel. He proves useful in situations, and also because both parents were killed, because Walter killed both of Jake's parents, he really has nothing left on Earth, so he's going to join. Now Roland has basically become his father, and he's decided to join Roland and become a gunslinger. So I can't wait for the sequel. And number 4 is Wonder Woman. It's the first feature, which is a wonderful movie. It's also a groundbreaker because it's the first feature female superhero movie that isn't terrible, bad, or mediocre. It's mostly the hero's quest because Diana, she becomes Wonder Woman. She believes it's so simple that she's just going to defeat Arius and the war to end all wars will stop, except that doesn't happen because then she is a pure of heart, optimistic, compassionate hero. So a pure of heart, and she during her hero's quest, she finds out that humans are not simply all good, they can still be destructive even if Arius, the god of war, isn't influencing them or controlling them, and that not all morality in the real world is simple. Morality in the real world is also getting enlightened because she's finding out learning that morality in the real world, not all of morality in the real world is simple black and white. Not all of morality in the real world is all simple black and white. And she's also learning that humans aren't simply all light or aren't all good or all bad, that they're a combination of light and dark, which is no doubt another way of saying combination, that they are both good. They have both good and bad. And also this is also Steve Trevor and his allies. They prove useful. So even though this is mainly with a female hero, it shows that it doesn't make the mistake of making men useless or just evil, which would make most all men hate the movie, and they don't have any logical reason to hate the movie because Steve and his Steve and his crew proved useful in defeating foes. And also, there's one of the main supervillains, Dr. Poison. She's also a woman, so it shows both. It does have a balance of showing that there are a balance with having evil characters that are women, that is a woman and a man, and also evil characters that, good characters that are men and women, and also Arius, like most he's convinced Arius's motive is extremely similar to Lucifer from Supernatural, and which is mostly astounding because Warner Brothers distributes the TV show Supernatural, and Warner Brothers also distributed the Wonder Woman feature movie, so that's astounding. And they had a show don't tell for why exactly Arius became evil, and along with why he's shown in the movie why he's convinced he's not a villain. And also, so that is number 4. That's Wonder Woman. And number 5 is Power Rangers. This was a serious reboot that involved all the Rangers. Jason, Trini, Billy, all of them. They're all believable, flawed characters with relatable problems, and also they go through a long journey to learn how exactly they can use the suits, and they also have to defeat Rita, that wants to destroy the Power Rangers and take over the Earth. And there's obviously foreshadowing. This is, and it also shows why exactly Rita became evil, and it's a great serious reboot for the Power Rangers. It's a great serious reboot for the Power Rangers, and I say it's a good movie. I don't say it's a great movie, mainly because of the 2 flaws that I have with it. Is the fact that the Power Rangers theme isn't used that much in the movie, and they're not shown that much in their power suits, armor suits. And there's obviously there's appearances from famous Power Rangers. If I recall right, it's Amy Jo Johnson that played the original Pink Ranger, and also Jason David Frank that played the original Green Ranger and the original White Ranger in the movie. And foreshadowing for the sequel will be saying she'd get a revenge or something like that, or that there are others. So it's a great reboot, but still, just for me, it's a decent movie, but still it's a great reboot, but still a decent movie that for me underachieves. Number 6, Thor Ragnarok. This was able to be Thor Ragnarok. This was able to be different from the other Thor movies, because in this Thor movie, most of it takes place on in the area of that the Grandmaster rules, and Thor, he gets his long hair cut. It's altered to short hair. His hammer gets destroyed by Hela, so he's not able to use that at all in this movie because Hela destroyed it. And also, Thor isn't able to defeat the main supervillain, which is Hela, so in desperation he releases Surtur, the fire giant, which is able to defeat Hela, but also at the price of destroying Asgard. And he finds out, so Asgard is destroyed, has now become the dimension, or has now become the domain, or the area that Surtur, the fire giant, rules, along with Thor and his group of people that are also Asgardians, finding out that Asgard can be not just a physical location, but also a group of people, they're still having to search to find a new place, to find a place to live, since they can't live in Asgard, because that was destroyed by Surtur, and that's where Surtur lives now. And also, Thor does lose one of his eyes, so this has a lot of, in this Thor movie, it has stuff that the other Thor movies don't have, that the first two Thor movies don't have. It's a terrific third movie. It was able to use stuff that was showing stuff that didn't happen in the other two movies, along with it had a Thor versus Hulk fight, and no doubt Thor was going to win that fight, so not surprising that the Grandmaster even saw that also, so no surprise he presses some device which I think paralyzes Thor, so the Hulk can win that match because of interference by the Grandmaster. When a third movie is shown, there's always it can either be terrible, as shown with Spider-Man 3, it could either be terrible or it can be great, and this is one of those third movies that is great or terrific in a series. And oh yeah, also Thor is mostly fighting without his hammer, so again, that's something new, that's something great. Number 7 is Justice League. It's a terrific superheroes team movie, which is team of superheroes that have to be united in order to defeat the alien that is Steppenwolf, that wants to take over the Earth, and including along with parademons. This movie has the members. They are fighting, but it's because they're fighting about stuff that is related to. They're not just fighting just for the sake. They're arguing, but again, that's not just for the sake of drama. It's because of current problems. It's related to stuff in the movie, including why they should or shouldn't bring back Superman, including the problems with maybe Superman. Even with bringing back Superman, even if he is brought back, they don't know without a doubt if he's going to be the same person. There could be something going wrong, similar to Pet Sematary, which is brought up, and also. It's hard to bring in. It's hard to. It would be challenging to bring Cyborg, mainly because he is. You have relatable characters, including Cyborg, that lost most of his skin, which had to get replaced with cybernetic or metal parts, and he still doesn't. He's still learning how he can't exactly. There's parts of his body that he can't control, and he's still learning about as far as how to control his powers, how to control his body, which is he's mostly a cyborg now. And also, the big bad that is Steppenwolf. He proves to be a team threat, and is exactly why he proves to be challenging to defeat in the climax. And there is this movie also does justice because all the characters, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, Cyborg, Aquaman, The Flash, they all get a chance to shine and show off their powers, including Aquaman, which is major because now I imagine, including Aquaman shown as a badass, now I imagine any person who saw this movie, they'll no longer think of Aquaman as a lame-ass character that mainly talks to fish. The same as, similar to the Avengers, it has the right. It's a serious movie, but it has the right mix of serious and comedy, or funny lines and funny scenes. But it's not overdone, so it's not a comedy. And there's also a scene at the end of the credits where it's clearly with Deathstroke and Lex Luthor talking about to create their own league in response to the Justice League. And no doubt he's talking about the Injustice League, so which is at the end of the credits, so great foreshadowing at the end of great foreshadowing for the sequel, which is at the end, which is after the credits. And number 8, The Hitman's Bodyguard, which is a terrific action comedy movie. This is mainly similar, a throwback to 48 Hours, but it has a high amount of action, so kind of similar. It has a high amount of action, and Darius the Hitman, it's pretty much a straightforward story where Darius the Hitman and Michael the bodyguard, they have to get to a courthouse so Darius can give testimony information about a tyrant that's about a nefarious tyrant. And the nefarious tyrant has a big army. He's going to send all of his henchmen after him to prevent Darius from reaching that courtroom. Also, it's shown in this movie, Darius, played by Samuel L. Jackson, he says his trademark word, the MF word, multiple times in this movie. He's not contained at all. And something also surprising for this movie is it's spitting in the face of typical action. Usually in action movies, they have inaccurate physics, inaccurate durability for humans, etc. In this one, spitting in the face of that because it's mostly real-world physics and biology, because Darius, if I recall right, he breaks a window and feels the damage of breaking a window of a car with nothing to protect his fist. Michael or Darius, one of them jumps off a building, a high building, and feels the damage and has some pain in his leg or something, even if it isn't, has some pain because he jumped off a high building, etc. So spitting in, it's mostly using real world physics and biology of humans in this movie for this action comedy movie. And there's just there's multiple great lines, mostly by Darius, but also most of the lines are either great or decent, either by Darius or Michael, or decent. I really can't recall any lame-ass or bad lines. And there's also the badass character, Sonya, which is the girlfriend, if I recall right, it's the girlfriend of, wife of Darius the Hitman. She is played by Samuel Hayek, who is both a combination. It's most similar as a badass, similar to Sarah Connor, where she can kick ass, but she's also eye candy, similar to her other characters that you've seen, similar to her characters in other movies. But she doesn't just look beautiful, eye candy, but she can also kick ass, the same as Sarah Connor from the Terminator 2, from the second Terminator movie. And there were parts and lines that had me laughing in this movie. It's a great action comedy movie that is mostly a throwback to Tango and Cash, 48 Hours, etc. Number 9 is, and there's also logical reasons as far as why the violence is happening, and you also get a flashback as why exactly Darius became a hitman, and also why exactly is he a likable character, because as a hitman he doesn't kill innocent persons, which no doubt he means by that as in persons that aren't involved in something illegal and predatory, not as in innocent as in they've never sinned, but as in innocent as in they're not involved in illegal, predatory behavior, which could be extortion, robbery, rape, murdering, etc. and so he's mostly similar to the Punisher, and both Darius and Michael are likable characters, and they have chemistry. And number 9 is It. This is a terrific, serious reboot of the Stephen King, based on the Stephen King book, which is most similar. It's most similar to, they're going for a Nightmare on Elm Street kind of stuff. It's serious horror movie, and that's exactly what it is. It's mostly a group of persons that are searching for the missing kids, including Georgie's brother, because he's convinced he can find him alive, but he doesn't find him alive. The Pennywise the clown, he proves he's a threat. He has a unique, different look. He proves to be a formidable threat because he's able to shapeshift. He's able to feed off, similar to Freddy Krueger, he's able to feed off the person's fears, which gives him power. He's able to shapeshift, and including he's able to grow in gigantic size, and he's also able to shapeshift his hand into claws. And there's also this is also you have a group of likable characters that are believable and flawed, including the female, including the girl character that has an abusive dad, including sexually abusive, and also a group of believable, likable, flawed characters. Obviously foreshadowing for the sequel, is he said they have that whole oath that if Pennywise is still alive in one amount of time that they'll return, and there was no indication that he didn't die, so no doubt this is part 1 with them as kids, and then part 2 will be them as adults, and I can't wait for that sequel. And so great foreshadowing, and also this is set, if I recall right, this is set in 1989, and it's believable it's set in 1989 because shown with how exactly the hairstyles, how they're talking, along with the arcade that is shown, along with shown on a movie board is Batman and Lethal Weapon, if I recall right, Lethal Weapon 2 both